You got tea? I forgot to have my shake. I gotta have my shake when we get done.
Yeah, I had that just before I got on. Uh,
Meant to do
yeah,
that.
I missed your text. I forgot I left my phone in the bedroom, and I
Oh,
was out in the working out and all that.
well, I woke up and I was like, I know it's not 9 o'clock. I said, but let me just check to make sure. So I was up at 8 o'clock anyway, just in case. So I was like, I'm not sure. So let me just make sure I'm up and everything's together. So it's all good.
Yep, that's good luck. All right, we are officially live on YouTube. And I'm going
Awesome.
to
Good
share our
morning.
link off
Good morning,
across social
YouTube.
media as we're doing all this. But good morning, everybody. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yes. I'm just
And
pulling up from YouTube on the tablet while we're talking. So
there you go.
I have
And
that.
welcome to. Let's make sure we don't cross thread here. I outsmarted myself and I mute the stream automatically. So look at that. We're learning as we get
Uh,
better.
yes, yes, yes.
Before we came on or went live today, Sam and I were talking about backgrounds and all that, and he's explaining. Oh, you want me again? All me. Never have to worry about that. So
No.
even in the way we're doing the Cheatcast now, it's getting easier to get set up and get rolling. Once we're live, it's not this huge surprise anymore because
Yeah.
it's almost like
Well, the
we know.
surprise is having the official Tai Chi background that I wasn't told about, and I have my wife's business in the background, so I should get some free marketing. And no one told me, but again, you found a way to up me, so that's cool. We'll have this continuous battle that I'm the only one in.
I'm gonna wear my Taoist robes next time.
Oh man, I gotta give me a lifesaver.
There you go.
It was national. What we call it, national or just Star Wars Day yesterday, and
Yeah,
it
may the
happened to
fourth
be the
be with
fourth. Yes, may the fourth be with you. So it's all
you.
good. Marcus,
Yes,
what
sir.
what have you been doing since World Tai Chi Day?
What have I been doing since World Tai Chi Day? So I have been doing a lot of Tai Chi. Actually, not as much Tai Chi as I've wanted to do. I'm gonna be honest. I was so tired after World Tai Chi Day. I was just spent. So I've spent a lot of time recouping and catching up. A lot of the emails that people are looking for answers for. A lot of the projects that have fallen by the wayside in preparation of World Tai Chi Day and all the big projects going into the summer. Even though we're under quarantine and whatnot, it's yeah, it was just a lot of relaxing and catching up. I still feel like I'm kind of in that mode,
Yeah,
although I'm definitely catching up and pushing forward into to new ground. So we've done some great things working with the VA and getting information across to them and them information across to us, as well as working with a lot more intimately with our instructors and the greater community surrounding Tai Chi Fit. So it's been busy, it's been tiring, but it's also incredibly encouraging, if not inspiring, right? Because we've got so many good things going on right now, and it's I guess May for me is the end of the spring season for me, right? I like to split the year up into 4 different quarters, and March to May is spring. So it's like building everything, getting that full steam in the head to go, pale mail into summer and really get things, see the fruits of your preparation come to light. And then after the summer months going into fall, so around September, it's time for the harvest. So at that point, you're recouping all of your hard work over the summer. You're seeing what your investments that you started in spring and have let play out in the summer. You're collecting those dividends come fall. And then in winter, starting in December, I really scale down and just catch my breath. I wasn't able to do that this year because David Ross offered me the position with Tai Chi Fit in November,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so just going in to the winter months, there was instead of getting my normal winter rest, that did not happen.
You're
So I'm really
hibernating.
feeling it right now.
Yeah, that's
As
a lot. No,
spring.
I'm a right. So I'm gonna tell you, with let's see here, with you talking about being caught up and catching your rest, I think that is equally as important, especially, all parts of Tai Chi, how that's going. Like, so I'm in this leadership group with this lady named Jamie Jordan, and she's like a
Uh,
great speaker, and she created a group for other people in the middle of the COVID virus, so we can all stay cultivated and harness our skills, and everybody can develop with her. She's actually one of Eric Thomas's speakers, but she doesn't like putting that out there because she wants to hold her own weight for her own name and build her own brand. So
sure.
I'm in this group called Bricklayers that she has. And one of the things she was just talking about is how people want to be entrepreneurs and they think they're supposed to work, 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 and just keep working and keep working and keep working on their business and forget about the rest of their life when
Mhm.
you're supposed to lay bricks everywhere so you have a strong foundation. So just because you're not doing something for your business today doesn't mean anything. You might need to catch up on some rest, or you might need to have some family time. And that's just as important because you can have a success, but if your family falls apart, you don't even want the success and it's not even necessary. So I think it's cool that you said, after World Tai Chi Day, you was catching up on your rest because first of all, we was preparing for event after event. You've been doing massive amounts of Tai Chi, teaching people online, doing it in person, still going out by the water, working with the boat staff, and we all know how heavy that is. So it's been a lot you've been doing. I know I wasn't doing as much as you, but at the same time, I know after World Tai Chi Day, I felt like a sign of relief, like you can just relax for a moment until you get back to it. And then you realize and you see yourself like the other day, I had like I got a robe that I have and it's like it has all these little Chinese characters and stuff on it. And I just felt myself, just doing push hands the other day all by myself and just
Mhm.
things like that because I had it on. So it's like, okay, cool. Your body wants to get back into it and get back into the groove, but the rest is still needed. That like even if you're training, having rest is as equally as important as it is being out on the floor. So it's good that you had a chance to get that rest. I'd say it's well deserved. Some people are resting, and they've been resting so long, the rest is making them tired. So some of us got to
Well,
get moving.
I wish I could claim some divine inspiration for my plan, but I my plan is actually it comes out of the Taoist calendar. So the idea is that every season has its point,
Mhm.
and there are certain things that you should do at certain times of the year. And if you're doing them in other times of the year, you're actually wasting your efforts in doing that,
Mm.
right? And you're not taking advantage of the things that that season actually has to offer. So it's like if you went outside every day all of winter. It's nice and it's good, but you're not getting exactly what you need from the sun in the wintertime, right? You need that strong sunlight and that warmth for the skin to revitalize the body. But it's also like buying a Slurpee um, in the middle of January. Like, I guess it tastes good, but it's
Yeah.
not helping the situation any, right? It's because it's cold. And the Slurpee's just going to cool you down even more. So it's funny. There's all these, like, I don't want to call them regulations, but there's all these suggestions that keepers of Taoism should follow throughout the year, only because they make sense at the end of the. I mean, most of the traditions in any belief or philosophy or way of life, there's a reason behind them. You know,
Mhm.
they may. I think where we get stuck in our ways is when there was a reason for something 3,000 years ago, and that reason no longer exists today, and we still adhere to this strange thing that was going on 3,000 years ago. Then that doesn't make sense. That you have to let go and let that fall by the wayside and move on and actually adopt and adapt your beliefs to times that you live in. You know, Lao Tzu didn't exactly have to worry about his cell and Wi-Fi dropping out. So
Right.
that's a modern problem, and modern
Exactly.
problems. our modern
and
solution.
I have no idea how to send a message by a pigeon.
Exactly.
You know, that was a skill all by
It, it,
itself.
it's funny you say that. Because people talk all the time about, the good old days and the way things used to be and how great the world was and yada yada yada. But when you sit back and you think about it, it's that's not true. Like, you hear a lot of people today say, "Oh, well, kids these days aren't learning handwriting because they're just typing. Like, everything's digital now, and so that's going to be a skill that goes away." Okay, but how many of you know how to build a fire?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? How many of you know how to
You're
build
still
a phone?
reading the words. You're still reading the words. I don't, I can't think of a time that I really had to use um cursive writing
Right.
other than signing a contract, you know. And then now with signing a contract, so the people that say the kids not learning it, well, you got these things where you send emails back and forth and you open up the attachment and you do a digital signature. That's not kids coming up with that. You
That's
know,
right.
those are professionals. So it's just how the times change, but we're still reading the words, you know.
That's right. That's exactly right. You're doing the same thing with better result and greater efficiency.
Yeah.
Like, it's great if you have great handwriting, but I know, like, I get tired. So no matter how tired you get as you're writing, if you're typing, the message doesn't get skewed because it's
Hmm.
very clear because the computer is doing the actual
Well,
scribing, not you.
well, how about when they used to write letters and you used to have to dip your feather into the ink, and then you had to gently, and I mean gently, because if you was on your fifth paragraph and an ounce of ink went the wrong way, they would start the whole thing over.
Yep.
You know, listen, nobody has time. First of all, how did you have time to start your letter over when it took you 3 months to get the letter to who it was going to anyway? So I can just imagine the delays that took place. You know, things are a lot different now. Like me and my wife last night, we were looking at a YouTube video, and this guy across seas built an entire in-ground swimming pool with a scooper and one metal chisel. And what he used for a leveler was a piece of bamboo, and he had the stick here and the stick here. So if the bamboo set across both of them evenly, then he knew it was even. But the question is, what if the sticks were in the ground unevenly? So how he had that magic worked out, I don't know. But it was a phenomenal video, and he actually made this wonderful pool by hand, all by himself. And it took him 5 days to fill the pool up. And in the process of filling the pool up with the water that he was getting from the stream, it was also leeches getting on him. So he had to get rid of the leeches to get the clean water, then get fish out of that same water, and then cook the fish, put it inside a bamboo, smoke the fish in the bamboo, then eat that at night with a light while he was sitting by the pool that he was working for like the last couple of weeks. And all this is by hand, you know, just so
Yeah.
he could go swimming. And it's like, you know, even if you don't have the money, you have better tools here where you don't even have to work as hard. I mean, hats off to him, you know, and it really made me feel like, okay, we're clearly lazy, you know, but maybe things are better now and I don't have to do that, you know. It is what it is.
I
Nothing
agree with
wrong
you
with it.
wholeheartedly. That's in keeping with the way modernity or our modern technology is really the idea. The problem is you have people that abuse technology. Either they get wrapped up in it
Hmm.
and it's all consuming, or they use it against people. Right? So, like nuclear energy, for example, you can use nuclear energy to power a city, or you can use it to destroy a city. But the nuclear energy, that's neutral. It's not. It's just a function of the universe, right?
Hmm.
So, if you're using your tech, for instance, we're using my laptop and your laptop or phone, your brand new phone, to broadcast and talk to each other across distance so that we can stay in line with the quarantine. And actually, I mean, we're doing a ton of stuff. We're saving gas, we're saving time and
Hmm.
resources and logistics and all that because we have all this tech, which is awesome. But you could also be like me. What was it? Saturday when I completely no, it wasn't Saturday. It was Sunday. I completely vegged out Sunday. and I
Mhm.
played this. I think it was Rome Total War for probably 6 hours straight on the couch. Like, it's just I'm not doing anything today. Nobody's in the house. I'm gonna be Carthage and I'm gonna conquer Italy, and
Mm,
that was it. All I did all day.
nice. You conquered Italy in a day's work.
That's
See,
right.
even in the
I'm
old days,
still
wouldn't be that
fried.
easy.
Oh my God, no, it was not easy. Over the course of 6 hours, I think in game time, something like 15 years went by in that time frame. So
Mm,
yeah, it took a while. It took a while, and I'm still when next weekend gets here, I get a chance to get back to it. I'm still like fighting for my life against other kingdoms that are
yeah, yeah,
trying to kick me out of Italy. So
that's awesome.
either way, neither is bad. It's just I needed that. I needed that chance to rest and just recoup. And I'm a big nerd, so if I can have fun playing with, space or history or something or literature, then that's a great way for me to just kind of veg out. Now, at the time that I'm playing, I'm learning or exercising strategies. I'm organizing different things inside the game, managing cities and populations and all that kind of thing. So it's not that my brain was turned off. It's just I wasn't necessarily getting anything, as we would say,
Mm,
constructively or industrially completed.
right, right. I
But
think that's important because,
as you noted early, if you just give everything to your business,
yeah,
then
yeah,
then what are you doing?
yeah, absolutely right about that. Like my wife, should I realized it? I, th- I think so many thoughts, right?
Mhm.
And by the time I open up my mouth, I might be on like the 50th thought.
Right.
And somebody will be like, well, how did you get here? And then sometimes I'll take my time and I'll go through every single thought and explain how I got there. And they just be like, wow, you had time to process all that. And I finally got to the point where I had the realization because my wife, my sisters, my cousin, my best friend David, they hate watching comedy with me. They're like, yo, you are the worst. You're stiff. You don't want to laugh at nothing. Nothing you find hilarious, and then it'd be something far off that I'll start cracking up about. And they'd be like, now you pick a time to laugh. But the thing about it is, for me, when I'm watching comedy and I'm seeing somebody on stage doing their thing, for me, even though that's enjoyment, my mind is saying, look at how he's moving. Look at how he's talking. When the crowd responds to him, how does he respond to the crowd? What happens when he pauses? What did he say before he paused? How is he dressed? Does that play a part into what he's saying? My mind is constantly thinking. So when it is a funny moment and everybody's cracking up, in my mind, I'm going, how did he just achieve that? So I can get better. So even though I'm watching something for enjoyment, I still try to get something out of everything, that I'm doing. And it's not that I do it on purpose, it just always happens. And I realize that's how my mind operates and I don't shut it off. And I was like, that's why. Because I tell them, I'm like, yeah, that was funny. And they like, yeah, you just saying that because you didn't laugh. And I'm like, no, that was a really good joke. But I'm not looking at it for enjoyment. I'm looking at it, getting enjoyment out of it. But my mind is computing. How can I turn it and translate it so when I talk to somebody, that same effect can happen? And it's not like about getting that effect. It's about they're able to reach people. So how can you get better at reaching people? And I realized that like my mind is always working that way. So whether I'm playing a game or not, so that's how it is for me.
It's funny you bring up comedians because I think like the best comedians we've ever had, and we're talking like the Hall of Famers, no question. This is George Carlin and Richard Pryor. Um, when you actually look at their comedy, it's not so much laugh out loud comedy. It's these strings of stories that keep bouncing and you keep following and going with it, and they're building this huge picture of everything. And there's moments of levity and you'll laugh because of irony and other things that pop up while they're doing it. But
Hmm.
in the case of both those comedians, in both Pryor and Carlin, you have they had strong social messages in their
Yeah,
comedy,
yeah,
and they did not hold back. Um, on how they felt about things in any ways, and they said the things that nobody's allowed to say, but they
Yeah.
built it in huge hour-long story that just kept you trotting right along.
Yeah.
And you may not laugh as much at a George Carlin or a Richard Pryor event as you would at, say, an Eddie Murphy or a Dave Chappelle or who's Doug Stanhope. He's another one that's out there right now. Unless it's what's his name with Jim Gaffigan. That guy's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That guy, and he's another one that he's so droll. I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, but if you just look at the way that they present their stories and their narrative, Gaffigan's the same way. He just builds this big story as it's going along and points out these ironic things, and you start falling off your couch because you're laughing so hard.
Yeah.
So recognizing what makes the greats great and then emulating them, that's absolutely the way to go. That's absolutely the way to go. Like if you want to be, if you're a young child right now and you want to be a basketball star, you should be looking at the old games of Michael Jordan and Shaq and Magic and Julius Erving and Wilt Chamberlain. You should try and take on and embody exactly what it was that they came to the table over. If you want to be a writer, look to the greats. No, look to Homer and look to Dante and all the great writers coming out. I sound like such
Then
an
you
idiot.
and then you should have fancy handwriting if you're gonna look at the
And you-
writers. Man, what's important? Man, what's important? See how we brought it all back?
Right. When I was at my most frustrated in being a writer, I actually found inspiration in Eminem. Because I read something that he was saying where he was like, I have sometimes worked for months on a single line in a song just to make sure it's right. And it's like, wow, that's real dedication to one's craft right there. So it's not just I want to be like Eminem, and that's not what I'm saying, but it's not I want to be like Eminem. It's I have to embody him. So I have to embody that work ethic and that dedication to craft and all those sorts of things. What we see on the show, there's this old saying of 80% of your income comes from 20% of your work, right? So the show itself is only 20% of your work. All that background stuff, there's so much that has built the Dave Chappelles and the George Carlins and Richard Pryors up on stage, and you're just seeing the final piece of it. Even when you look around and people that you admire in your life right now, there's a whole backstory behind them that really does chart how they got to where they are and all of the obstacles and lessons that they had to learn. It's one of the reasons we don't like trust fund babies, like just as a general rule, because you know that like nothing went on and nothing was earned.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, you do have to balance all of that out with your rest and relaxation. You really do.
I thought you was gonna say, but at the same time, we want to be trust fund babies. But whatever. What you just said.
Oh no! I think that's why my daughter stopped talking to me. Like, you didn't earn anything. Get on out there and do the.
Yeah, I'm not trying to hear that. I just saw my sweet 16. Nothing like that.
But think about that, right? If the world ran like you run a Monopoly, right? Like you play and you earn what you earn. And then when your game is over, all the stuff that you have goes back in the box, right?
Yeah.
Your kids don't get anything. Your kids got to forge their own way. That's a much different society than the societies that we've built thus far, right?
Oh, yes. It was two things. So let's see, the society that we built, and then also about the hard work. So I'll go with the hard work, and we got to remember the society. But as far as the hard
right
work
now.
goes, yes. So I'm thinking here, like the whole thing that everybody's looking at right now is Michael Jordan. First of all, I believe what is the name of it? It's the new show that they got going on, or a series about Michael Jordan, but it's called The Last Dance. So
Yeah.
I'm hearing that they got this new thing called The Last Dance that they playing. And then some people were like only talking to me about Michael Jordan. So, one of my guys called me last night, Marquise Freeman, and he's like, "Yeah, I was watching." And I said, before he started, I said, "So let me ask you a question. Is this about Michael or is this about the Bulls? Because I thought it was called The Last Dance for them, but everybody seems to be talking about Michael." And I was trying to figure out what was going on. And for one, it turned me off with watching it simply because everybody was watching it. And
Yeah.
it sounds kind of crazy, but it's like it just does something to me. Like if every single person is watching this, what else is going on and what else is happening that I can maybe focus on at that time while everybody else is over here. Like one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, he said, in the middle of a snowstorm, he always thought it was best to go out and perform and do sales. He said, for one, you know that everybody's home, and even the sales and even the salesmen are home. So he has no competition. So I'm like, well, everybody's watching that. Let me go do something else. And now that there may be 5 or 6 episodes in, I'm going to start watching it. And like it goes back to what we were saying before. Like I was talking to Marquise. I'm like, the reason why I want to watch it is because I want to look at the greatness. I don't care too much about certain stories that people are just watching to watch it. Nothing's wrong with entertainment because I have my own entertainment. Everybody has something that they like to watch, so that's fine. But for me, I want to watch it because I know that I want to be great. And a lot of people take on being great as something small. It's a lot of sacrifice that goes into being great. Like my wife, she sacrifices all the time for me being able to do, like for me doing this Gcast right now. She's probably downstairs, with our children, and she just woke up and she's making them breakfast and all these different things where normally I would do it now that I'm home, but she is because we're on a Gcast. So we all had sacrifices to be great. But I look at it with, Michael and all these guys and everything that was taking place, and I'm just thinking, man, the type of life that they had to live to do this. Because I guarantee you, if this show came out when they were playing basketball, they wouldn't be watching it because they would be focused on their craft. And
Sure.
then after they were done, they would go back and watch it. So I'm just looking at it like I was telling Marquise yesterday. I said, I want to be one of the best Tai Chi instructors in Philadelphia. With that comes the responsibility of being able to help a lot of people transform their lives. However, if I say I want to be great, that means I'm going to have to miss some birthday parties. I'm going to have to miss some outings. I'm going to have to miss some time on the game to conquer Italy, all that kind of stuff. You, you see how we bring that back around again?
Leave
Great
my side
comedian.
conquest alone.
I'm done. I'm done with the conquest. So, like, we all this stuff that we got going on that we are going to miss. And so it's like, in order to be great at something, you got to like really dedicate yourself to it. So when other things are going on, you're working at it. So I just look at it for that purpose. Like I really think it gives great dedication. So I guess for people listening to it, maybe find something that you do like, and when you look at it critically to figure out how it can help you out, in any type of way. Because like TV, too much TV, is no good for you. But there's so much stuff out there that if you use it the right way, it can inspire you. Like I think of everything at a deeper level. Like when you were saying earlier, people use technology the wrong way and then they spend too much time on it. How dare we say people spend too much time on technology, but we want people to look at the cheat cast that we're doing?
Sure.
So how do you have both? You want people to not spend too much time on it, but you want them to look at the cheat cast. And the catch to that is having something in balance. So we have a cheat cast that we do that is good for you and also entertaining, so you get something out of it, and it's built in the DNA of what we're doing versus maybe I don't know. I don't want to pick out no show, but watching something on TV where it's pure comedy, that's fine to do. But too much of anything just becomes mush. I'm walking home last night, and as I was getting out of my car, I looked at all the people houses as I was leading up to my house, and I was like, wow, everybody's in that bedroom or living room, and I can see their TVs on right now. So this is just literally my block. I'm looking at how everybody got their TVs on, and I'm like, that's just crazy how everybody's doing the same thing. Well, let me get in the house so I can look at this movie me and my wife was supposed to look at. And now my house is about to do the same thing. And it's just like, what is everybody doing with their time? Is it turning into mush or are we using it for something good? I don't know.
That's exactly right. Like the idea of the industrious American or the industrious person says that you have to be doing something with your time at all times. If you're not creating something, you're supporting someone who has created. And we as consumers, we go ahead and we consume in mostly entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even shopping is an act of entertainment nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not working towards a goal, then that means I should be watching Netflix and supporting something else. And this is completely subconscious. Like, this is not something we think about in any kind of active way. We don't. We just do it because that's our culture and that's what we do. So, in the idea, like, if you were to call me Sunday and I were to say, and say, I mean, I know we have the quarantine and everything, but let's say, hey, I want to do a thing on Sunday. Can you join me? And my response was, no, I'm going to go conquer Italy. That is an unacceptable excuse, right? Or we'd be like, what? You're going to do what? Wait, you're going to play a game versus be industrious or whatever, and you're actually going to tell me that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but that was the necessary part. So it's no different than your Tai Chi or your meditation. Now, Tai Chi has a nice little out because it's also exercise. So you are doing something to strengthen yourself. But where people really get hung up is meditation, where you're just sitting there or standing there if you're doing a little Zhang Zhuang, where you're just, the whole purpose of doing it is to do nothing, is to actually take a break
Yep.
from the world and do nothing but focus on yourself for
Mm-hmm.
whatever that however long you want to do it, whether it's 6 seconds or 60 minutes, it doesn't really matter. But that idea that I'm just going to sit here and think about nothing as I try to relax my body into a state of nothing
Yeah.
for a half hour, for an hour, for 5 minutes. And that act alone is like, what? So if I were to say that, it would be slightly more acceptable for you to be like, hey, Marcus, we need you to do this thing on Sunday. And I'm like, no, it's my day of meditation.
Yeah.
Because it comes with sort of an air of religiosity.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd still be like, that guy's kind of weird,
Yeah.
right? You
You
would
just
just,
kind of just, all right. It's
I used
crazy
to,
that you gotta,
it was,
it's crazy that you gotta do that. Like, I literally had at least 10 phone calls during this period. Hey, Sam, are you cutting hair? And the crazy part about it is, I'm not knocking nobody, but I look at it like two ways. Like, okay, you calling me to get your hair cut because clearly, people need haircuts right now.
sure.
I do so much on the regular basis. Even today, like, once we get done the cheat cast, I had to go and straighten up my half of the room. My wife just washed all of the clothes in the house, and now I have to put my stuff up in the drawer so she won't be looking at me crazy. But I gotta do that. Why? Because right after that's over, I have somebody coming to do some lawn care with me at our house. Then after that's over, we're gonna go to somebody else's house and do it. And then when that's over, we're going to record a podcast. And when that's over, I'm going to be going to work. And so it's like this type of stuff is on a daily basis for me. Even while people are not working during this quarantine period, I'm still busy. So
Yeah.
then somebody say, hey, like, one of my family members said, hey, can I get a haircut? No, you can't right now. Well, when can I? Maybe in like another month or two. And he got upset. But my other cousin that was on the phone started laughing. He was like, yo, all jokes aside, Sam is like, actually, he's really busy like that. Like, I'll attest to it. But I'm thinking, even if I wasn't, if today was the day I didn't have nothing to do, why do I not have the right to do nothing today?
Yeah.
I've deserved that. But you can't say that to somebody. They'll tell you you're lazy. Like, I spent one day, and this happens a lot where I give stuff to people and this one day, I actually had extra cash on me. So, and this was right before, I think maybe 3 days before I bought my house. I gave out some food at the shelter. I bought somebody else something to eat. I went to the market, and the dude before me, you can tell he was working. He had his construction stuff on. He went to purchase some stuff, and his card wasn't working. And I said, Miss, you can put all of his stuff on my bill, and I'll take care of it.
Hmm.
Then I went to work. I did something for somebody there, gave my last dollar to somebody that was going on the bus. I had $10 left. I was about to get gas. I get to the gas station. The dude says, "Excuse me, sir, can you spare a buck?" I said, "No, I don't have it." "Do you have anything?" "No, I don't have it." "Oh, come on, man. Y'all don't be trying to help." Like, are you kidding me? I just literally spent the last 12 hours giving every single thing that I had. Now that I have nothing left, you come and you ask me, and I'm saying no, and you choose now not to believe me. And I'm like, wow, like this is fascinating. But it's like you don't have the right to say no. No one wants to accept no. Like, it's like, why? I have the right to do so. So it's like, I don't know. But when you said that, it just struck something with me. Like, yo, that is just crazy to me how you can't be allowed to say no. I deserve some rest too. They're like, man, you ain't doing nothing with your life. Like what?
Right.
And
Yeah, that's exactly
you
right.
know,
But that goes into sort of breaking the tribal mind, right? Like we were born in the moment we were born, we were labeled a bunch of different things, right? You're Philadelphian, you're from Jersey or Delaware or California or England or Mongolia, right? So you have your like national identity, you have your local identity, your ethnicity, your race, your gender. Like
hmm
there's 30 different labels that are thrust upon you the moment the doctor smacks you behind, right? And you have no control over any of that. And
hmm
now over the course of the next 60 to 100 years, you're expected to fall into the proper actions of all of those different monikers, right? All those
yeah,
different names
yeah,
and tags that have been thrusted upon you that, again, you didn't ask for them. When you look in the mirror, you may not see them at all, right? But at the same time, when you walk out of the house, you are still judged by those tags,
yeah.
which is really sad. But one of those things is you're American, you should be industrious. And so if you're like, nah, I'm going to take a break, all of a sudden
Yep.
you're a bad American. Look at the stuff that and I'm not immune to this, right? Like I wake up extra early so I can meditate. So I have more time in my day to be industrious.
hmm
In many ways, that's defeating the purpose, right? If the purpose of meditation is to take a break out of your day, then that means at my busiest, I should unplug, sit down, and do my meditation. But instead
hmm
of doing that, no, I actually wake up earlier and cut
hmm
into my sleep, which is the exact opposite of what should be happening when you're going into
Yeah,
your meditation, right?
yeah.
So I am guilty of this too, and a lot of us are guilty. Just about all of us. And if you're not guilty of it, you're feeling guilty that you're not
Yeah,
guilty of it,
yeah,
right? So the rampant consumerism, the idea when we're looking at all these protests about the quarantines and all, that really has to do with people feeling that America is falling apart because the government says we have to stay at home.
yeah,
Now, are they scientifically illiterate? Yes. But are they acting like Americans? Yeah, they are. That's exactly what our tribe does. Any kind of restriction, freedom.
yeah. It's wild. It's like I just know. First of all, I literally just saw that last night. I'm gonna tell you right now. I was keeping up to date with every broadcast.
That's a bad idea.
I know. Hold on, let me finish.
It's
Let me
all bad, man. It's all
let me
bad.
finish. Let me finish. I was keeping up. Can we cut that part? No, I was keeping up with every broadcast that was happening. Um, Not even for the information. Just again, I love to watch the production of it. For me, it's fascinating because I'm watching how everybody speaks at the podium. Everybody comes to the podium. Everybody has different words they use. Like if I'm talking and I start doing this, everyone knows exactly who I'm talking about. And then the president does that. I'm looking at how the other people who come up and how they speak and how their voices are. So all of it is just like fascinating to me. I don't watch it for the information that they're giving because if that would have been the case, I probably would have been freaking out. I've been going to work this whole entire time,
Mm.
doing what I had to do. But after a while, it kind of fizzled out. And I happened to just catch up on some things yesterday. And I was like, people are really out here protesting and like wilding out over this thing, saying they want to get back to it. And then on the other hand, you got a nurse that was in New York that just committed suicide because she's going crazy dealing with all the people that's dying. So I'm like,
Yeah.
how are we having both these right now?
Well, there's the key, right? And it depends on what side of the tribal mind that you're going to fall on. Like the protesters have the luxury of not seeing this face to face, saying it's a hoax and it's a Chinese conspiracy and all these sorts of things. Where in reality, this is just biology at play. We live on a biological planet. You know, every time cells split and replicate, there is a chance of change inside its DNA. It could be just a small change. That's all cancer is. It's the cells split, something the thing that stops the cell from multiplying into immortality, which is essentially what cancer is, turns off. It's just wrong. It didn't copy right. And so you get cancer. Well, this thing is the same. It's a virus. It's constantly replicating. And inside of one cell, it can replicate billions of times. And then when it splits that cell open, that's billions of copies, and you're hoping that one of them isn't off just a little bit. Well, one of them was off just a little bit and was able to make the jump to us. And now we don't have any immunity to it. So it's its first tour. It's taken the world by storm, right? Mm-hmm. Every time it comes back around from here on out, it's going to dampen down.
Yeah.
The nurse is sitting on that front line and seeing that and has the awareness of how this whole thing works. The protesters are only in many ways thinking of themselves, but they don't see it that way. They're thinking of it as Americans. They're saying, there are restrictions on us. I'm willing to die to make sure America keeps making money, right? So they're lost in the illusion of the tribal mind and lost in the illusion of the societal tribal mind, which is money and government and all that kind of stuff. Not to say that it's bad. I like my cell phones and my webcams and the internet. I'm a full fan of society. But also understanding that society is just a mechanism to organize us so that we can have things like skyscrapers and sneakers with lights in the toes, right? So
the light up.
Yeah, you remember when they were in the heel back in the BK days?
You had to like kind of step hard sometimes to make sure your light was working. Also.
You were the only one that was entertained by the light. Nobody
you spend all your time walking down looking to the side like, oh man, should have came equipped with a mirror. You just had to look over to the side slightly.
Oh my God, BK Nights, man, that's taking it back right there. Because they're trapped in sort of that tribal mind. In fact, Harriet Tubman said this is one of the most powerful quotes that I've ever read, and it was, I was able to free 1,000 slaves, and I would have freed 1,000 more had they known they were slaves. Right? And we look back at the chattel slavery days as like, well, yeah, everybody would have wanted to get out of that, right? Everybody would have been fighting. But we're looking at it through the veil of the modern eye. At the time, sure, there would have been people that being a slave actually worked out for them. And they would have helped to perpetuate the system. Or they just would have seen it as natural. I mean, if you're third generation being born into it and everybody that remembers Africa is dead, and this is just the way it is, it's easy to fall into that trap of it's just the way it is, and it's always been this way. So for the protesters out there, that's exactly the veil that they're looking through, not realizing that they are, in fact, a slave to the tribal mindset.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we were going to, in the few times that I've gone out since the whole quarantine has gone, I grab sundries and groceries and whatnot. I said sundries like it's the
I heard that. He has this vocabulary working today. Man, you slid that in there and just kept it moving. Next TCast, we're gonna have a thesaurus with us.
I spend way too much time on the thesaurus.com. I really do.
You're the guy that writes in signatures all the time. Everything you write is a contract being signed.
Oh my God, I have this literary work that I'm working on, and the whole idea is to make it beautiful because you have this really villainous main character,
Mm-hmm.
who's more of an anti-hero than the villain of the story. But in any other story, this guy would be the villain, right? But he's like this hoity-toity upper society. Like he's got this vocabulary that would put the greatest linguist in the world to shame right now. And it's fun to write because the idea was to make this sort of tongue-in-cheek, almost horror thriller
Mm-hmm.
be beautiful, be absolutely beautiful in the way that it's written and constructed and all that kind of thing. So that it kind of messes with you. Like
Yeah.
I'm reading this very beautiful phrasings and words and language about like death and mayhem and all
Yeah.
this kind
By
of
the time you
crazy.
realize that you're already in.
Like, oh, I think there's something wrong with me.
He invested how much time doing this now?
Years,
Yes.
years,
See,
years.
and there it goes, and he's gonna make 80% off of the 20% we see.
That's it. That's it. Again, it goes back to like the idea of Eminem. There have been sentences I've worked on for weeks. There have been
Mhm.
chapters I have worked on for months to get them right. Well, once it's done, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
perfect. But on the way, and you said this earlier, you better make sure you're doing something you want to do, right? Something that speaks to you internally, that drives your passion. It's something that in your spare time you would do it for free. You would do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're following that pursuit, you'll never work a day in your life. It's not to say that you won't struggle, because you will. It's not to say that you won't work hard and break sweat or draw blood or anything like that. But you won't see it as work. You'll see it as effort, which is a completely different thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's where breaking the tribal mind comes down to pursuing who you are as a person. You know, I come from very humble beginnings. Like my dad was a shipper. He was union. I don't think he ever made more than $14 an hour, right? And he lives a very simple life now, but he's happy. He does his thing. Um, but in order to get and rise above that, I had to start thinking about people that were in stations above me,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're born into the peasant realm of the pyramid, you have to start to adopt the values and the thoughts and the philosophies of the people above you. And when you get
Yeah.
there, above them.
Yeah.
Now that comes with a caveat because at the very top of the pyramid is nothing but cannibalistic sociopaths, right?
Yeah.
So you don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to go there either, right? Like when you have your Donald Trumps and your Jeff Bezoses and what was it, Bill Gates. So when Trump said he was going to defund the World Health Organization, which I think is a very dumb idea. But Bill Gates came out and said, "Oh, we can't do that. That's a dumb idea." Well, we give the World Health Organization $400 million a year. Bill Gates, by himself, could fund the American portion of the World Health Organization all by himself. And for him to do that, it would be like you having $50 in your pocket and spending 50 cents of that $50. That is what we're talking about here. So you have like again that tribal mindset, not just in the protesters, but even at the people at the top, where you have a person that's like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," but it is well within his ability to fix the very thing that he's saying we can't do. And this is where I run what probably my favorite verse in the Bible, which is those that know to do good and don't do it, that is a sin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it's in your power to do it, then you should do it. But in America, in that tribal mind, if Bill Gates were to actually do something like that, he would be labeled a socialist, right? Or an oligarch who's trying to take over the government or something that's un-American. You're more American by hoarding your wealth and not helping people than you would by actually helping out Americans. It's like people who say, if you burn the flag, you should go to jail, but have no problem cutting down America's forests, tearing up America's plains, polluting America's rivers. So you care about this piece of meaningless cloth, but you don't care about the country that that piece of cloth represents, or the
You
people.
know, I was going to Walmart the other day,
Hmm?
and I
I'm
remember one
sorry.
of the. Oh, okay. So for all of us who still love Walmart, first of all, man, when I had my first son, that became my second home. So it is what
Sure,
it
sure.
is.
I
So
was alluding more to, because I go to Walmart all the time. I was alluding more to the lines coming out of Walmart
oh
right now.
oh
Oh,
well, no, I wasn't. I mean, I've been in them, but I wasn't. I definitely. I do. I paid. Yeah, that's the whole part about being productive.
yeah.
I lied to you not. I literally brought my gas bill and my electric bill, my water bill, because I knew I was gonna be in line. So while I was in line, I paid all of those bills so I could be productive. And by
Yep.
the time I got done, it was my turn to go in. But it literally stretched across the whole plaza on the boulevard, to be able to get in there. Now, I, I go. I don't even remember what the heck I was talking about with Walmart. That's gone. That has left me. I'm thinking about how productive I was being in lines at Walmart and everything else. That happens. Now the only thing that's on my mind now is in these headphones, I can hear my son talking,
Uh,
and I spend all this money buying this fancy microphone that's on the side of me right now that's picking me up, and it's picking up. I can hear my TV downstairs and my kids watching it and my wife talking. And the only thing that's on my mind now is if everybody hears this, I should probably let them know that's me, not Marcus. And everyone should understand that we're broadcasting from home right now. So it is what it is. So I don't even know. I don't know what else I'm on Walmart for, but they just got a little endorsement. So there you go.
well,
That's how that goes.
it's funny you point that out, because a lot of these broadcasts and streams are happening in people's homes now, which always ends up with some funny interactions, because your kids are
Yes.
home, pets are home, your loved ones, your partners are home. So it's like, we'll have the Chi-Cast going, and Sophia's not here right now, but she'll be working, and of course she has a very serious job, and they're important pieces, and she's high up in the whatevers in the ranks, and yada yada yada. And then here we are goofing off, and not
Yeah.
to say that what we don't do is important. Again, this is that tribal mindset. What we look like when we work actually looks like we're playing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look
Yeah.
like we're working, right?
Like you better not enjoy yourself in the process, otherwise it's
How
not
dare
respected
you
at
enjoy
all.
what
Are
you
you
do?
having a good time creating? Yes, I am. I thought
Yeah, how dare
the
you
whole
enjoy?
idea was to enjoy what you do.
That's exactly right. But that, I feel, is like, that's the sagely advice that is given in order to keep you showing up into jobs that you don't like.
Yeah.
Right? And you end up convincing yourself over time that what you're doing is actually what you want to be doing. Right?
Hmm.
And you forget that what you are doing was just a step toward what you want to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
so
it.
there's the choice that has to be made. Like, the choice that you're making is, I'm going to bust my hump and work toward my ultimate goal, which
Yeah.
all my choices, all of, and I'm speaking for you, and so if I'm wrong, by all means tell me, but all my choices are leading me down this path. This is the path I want to be on. So every choice I make is going to keep me there. And I'm sure you've been tempted to go off in this direction and that
Hmm.
direction and the whole nine,
Hmm.
but you're at a point where you're like, hey, no, nope, nope, nope. This is the goal. This is the goal. This
Yeah.
is the path. And I don't necessarily know what's over the ridge, but I know we're going in this direction. I am committed to this path. And that right there, that's awesome. That is freaking awesome. The other way you can do it is give over to poverty.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be
Well,
distracted, right? I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to take the hit financially so that all I have is time to focus on this path. Those are
yeah.
the really the only two ways that you can do it. There's probably some middling ground as well, obviously, but those are sort of the
Well,
extremes on the
I think the
spectrum.
middle ground. I think the middle ground is just the details. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like for me, The first of all, you're 100% right about the first one, so you could definitely be my spokesperson anytime. Sam, how do you feel about X Marcus? Sam, how do you? X Marcus. But then the other side to it is, I would definitely take the latter of the two, but I can't because I got three
Kids.
other people in the house that I'm responsible for. My wife, she is in school for medical. She's just started her own online business. I have two children in the house, so I can't take that. But if I was by myself, I would definitely be eating some cereal, sitting in my underwear, at somebody's house, explain to them, hey, I am doing very, very important work and I'm going to add value to the world. So leave me alone. I don't have any money to contribute to the bills right now. And I am building something of myself. Can you hand me the cereal, please?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's how it is. But no, so for market speaking for me, to break down how it's 100% correct. I work at Community College of Philadelphia. I'm the custodian there at the Northwest Regional Center. So if you show up there, you'll see me probably with a trash can, a squeegee, or a mop in my hand, right? And well, why do you do this job if you want to be a public speaker, if you want to write books, if you want to be a Tai Chi guy? That don't make sense. But for me, it makes perfect sense because not only do I do that, but I also work at night doing security. So now that doesn't make sense as well either because now you're working in the daytime and you're working at night. So
Sure.
how does any of this make sense? Well, at the college. I'm a I do I'm a wellness coach with Herbalife, and at the college, I do a lot of stuff there that involves Herbalife, right? Then I also do a lot of working out there. Like my managers, like before I switched locations, they knew how dedicated, how serious it was, and they knew that whenever Sam was taking his break, he was across the street at the gym
Yeah.
working out. I might go to work early and do it, or stay there late and do it, or do it on my lunch break, and then I would take people from the job with me and help them out, right?
Mhm.
One of my good friends there, Tyree. I remember when he started helping me do it, and now both of us are doing it, and then we bring in Crystal, and now both of those people are branching out, building their own athletic brands.
Yeah.
We did all of this at work. I remember I built wonderful connections with work because I do want to do these different wonderful things. Excuse me, Jamie would be upset if I said I do want to be, but I am a speaker, right? And
Mhm.
so in the process of that, I have networked with people who are business professors who actually worked in the field, who have the right to be business professors for entrepreneurs. Then I have some who actually work with and do tours with Les Brown. And I just think about all these different connections that I've made with people, even down to doing martial arts. Me and Jason were given areas, like we would come in and we would have different areas that we would practice and do Tai Chi
Yeah.
at the college where we had nowhere else to do it at, because there was things going on with Jason's life. My apartment was too small. It might be raining outside this and the third. We had spaces right there at the college to do it. Then on top of that, well, I could go to like one of my kung fu brothers said, we have family that works at another college. You can go there and make twice as much money. That will be cool, except the fact that I am away from everything else. So, part of me being able to make that money, I am also going away from all the stuff, all the other things that I'm building here that will support my personal branding and my personal business. And then, like, at night at the shelter, well, why are you still there if you're trying to do all of these other things? Well, not only does it help provide for me, but I hold meetings there.
Mhm.
I network with people there, because I was there. I was able to network with the owner of the program, and by networking with him, I now have my own personal brand, Inner Oasis, where we teach meditation, Tai Chi, and yoga class. They signed up to be our first contract, and we've been working with them ever since. So I literally get paid for my night job, and I get paid from the night job.
Right.
And sometimes I'm not even the one teaching the classes, and I'm still getting paid there. And then we lock the doors at 10 o'clock every night. That is my focus time. At 10 o'clock every single night that I am there, I go into the lobby. If I'm not on the phone conversing with somebody, I go into the lobby, or even if I am, it depends on how I'm helping a person. But I'll literally go into the lobby and I'll start doing shifts for Wing Chun, or I'll start doing a 24 form of Tai Chi. And they'll literally see me on the corner on the camera practicing Tai Chi the whole entire time.
Yeah.
Like before one of the guys left, there was actually one of the clients that was at the shelter that did Wing Chun as well. and me and him would play Chisao for an hour every single night from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock until I got off. So when the building got shut down at 10 o'clock and everybody had to go into their specific areas and do counts and all of that, me and this one guy would be in the lobby just getting it in the whole time. I knew that if I left that job, for one, I would leave that income. For two, I
Yeah.
would leave the place where I could have to hold my meetings. For three, I wouldn't be able to train as much as I would, because if I was, then now I would be doing something else. Like, you got to work extra hard during this quarantine time. These things that I want to do, a lot of the phone calls that I would have and would helping and mentoring and coaching people, I do it at home, and I realize this is crazy, because I'm talking to the kids. This happening, that's happening, and you realize, oh man, being at work actually was beneficial, because not only was I providing for the family, I was actually getting a lot of entrepreneurial things done. Those entrepreneurial things are going to help me out to be able to walk away from working for somebody else, so I can be there with the family. Now,
Sure.
you take that. I'm 33 now. By the time I am 24, let's say I don't have to be in that position to be working at that night job anymore, but still have that same level of income, right? So now I just doubled my worth. Or I could say, let me be home with the family, and I don't have that income, and then it takes twice as long to make that income. And now I'm upset because I am not providing the way I want to, or I'm not being useful the way I want to. I'm home with the family. But one of the common things that we have that's a struggle is, you have all the money in the world, but no time to spend it. Or you
Right.
have all the time in the world, but no money to do anything.
Hmm.
And you don't even have to go out. It could just be no money. So no, I couldn't get milk for you to drink with the stuff. You have water because the milk is for the cereal. So it's like all those things come into play. So you got to have balance. And so it's like, what balances out is, my wife started her online business, Simply Amazing, and then she's in school being a nurse, right? So by the time she gets done taking this time to go to school and not produce, and so this is something that I learned from somebody else. So if you're married with a partner and you want to learn how to get ahead, one of you might be able to sacrifice what you're doing to have a greater income. So for example, if my wife makes, let's say, minimum $50,000 when she becomes a nurse, if we she would have took 2 years off of making $25,000 a year, and then in one job working 4 days out of seven out the week, be able to make $50,000 in 1 year, she would have made up what we lost in the two,
Yeah.
and be able to provide and not work as many days as the regular 9 to 5 person. Then on top of that, I don't have to work both, and we're not even adding my income to the pot. Whereas we sacrifice for 2 years, we could triple our income versus staying the same and then being at a lateral state for 10 years. Well, why is it bad to be at a lateral state for 10 years? Well, if each year inflation takes place, then you're literally losing income every single year. So what you thought was a comfortable lifestyle, it has trickled down so much that you didn't even realize it till you wake up and wonder how you got here, and then you end up living off of your children, the government, and whatever you had, providing you had a pension.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how we got here, but that's just where the mindset is. So all that to say, I guess, Marcus, you were right. That's why I'm focusing on what I'm doing. Yeah, you're right. That's why I'm focusing on what I'm doing. I have had other opportunities that would say, hey, you can make more money. But if I made more money, I wouldn't have the freedom I had at both of my jobs. And by the way, I'm also smart about it because both of my jobs are close to my house, so I literally can go home at any time. Like, my
Right.
wife called me one day at the day job, was like, yo, I need wipes for the baby. And I was able to actually leave work and go get wipes. You know what
Right.
I mean? So I was that close. So, just make your life convenient for you as we go through this whole quarantine period. Find some stability in whatever it is that you're doing, to take this time to say, hey, what do I really want to do and accomplish in life? And use this time to say, what has this taught me? The world is still moving without me. So how important am I? Not important to your family, not important to your loved ones, but how am I important to this institute that is still going on without me or has let me go? Not saying
Right.
they don't love you, but we now have to figure out some new things, and like, what's the real values in life.
Well, what you're talking about is just investing in yourself. Like if you have to have a job, and I think you said this
So what, you
wonderful.
just you just gonna sum up my 15 minutes and just say invest in yourself? You're just gonna
Yeah.
sum
Yeah.
up my
That's what.
whole
So no, I'm gonna build on that because what you just said was don't work for somebody, right? make your work for you. So yeah, you got to have a job because you got to put food on the table. You got to keep the lights on. But that doesn't mean you have to work for some, oppressive corporation. It doesn't mean that you have to work across town. Everything that you just said is convenient for you and is helping you achieve your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, that's you on the path. I was very similar to that when I was working through college, and I worked security
Mm-hmm.
because when I was at security, once I did my rounds, once everything was locked up, I sat in the office or in the truck and worked on my schoolwork,
Right.
right? And ended up getting, 2 degrees out of the thing, writing a book,
Nice.
all sorts of things, just because I made work for me. Now they got what they paid me for, right? But there's a lot of downtime. And if we're going to be honest, we're really going to be honest with ourselves about how much work we actually do at work. You're maybe, if you're super industrious, and we're talking the top 1% of folks that actually go to work,
Yeah.
actually work 40 hours in a week, right? Because I know I don't, right? Like, because I don't consider class being work.
Right.
Class is just class. It's just me goofing around. It's a time slot that I'm unable to do anything else in, right? But the work itself, doing administrative things, writing SOPs, creating program designs, all that kind of stuff. How much time I actually spend doing that? 25 to 30 hours. I'm not putting in 40 hours a week doing that. Now, you could argue, well, you teach a lot, sure. But a lot of that time, not working. Let me reframe that. I'm probably actively working on this programs 15 to 20 hours a week. The rest of the time, a lot of that is spent thinking about it and mulling things over in my head and flipping things around and holding meetings with different people to sand things down to a way that they'll work and where all the stakeholders involved actually make out. So to that idea of work, produce. Sometimes you do need to sit back. That downtime that you have to do your training, to practice your forms, to get your study on, to host meetings and all, that's downtime. Now you're on the clock, but it's downtime. You need that downtime in order to make other things happen. That's where balance really comes into play. Like if you completely neglect your family while you're in pursuit of your goals, you're going to lose your family.
Yeah.
And then you're going to lose a lot of the motivation that you had behind your goal.
You got to remember, I said after we get done this cheat cast, I'm going to clean my side of the bedroom. So you got to still do everything. I was watching what's his name? Well, I was watching a basketball player talk about how when he was a young kid, he had the opportunity to go to Michael Jordan's house, and he didn't think he would be there. And he was fascinated by the fact that when he got to Michael Jordan's house, he actually saw Michael Jordan taking out the trash.
Yeah.
For him, that was mind blowing. It's like, these things still have to happen,
Yeah.
still got to take place. So
I am of the mindset that you should always do those things like that. So there are 4-ish sectors to life. There's your public life, your personal life, your domestic life, and your spiritual life, right? So your public life is obvious. It's your work. It's your pursuits, your goals, all that kind of. But not always, right? There is some intersectionality between these. Your personal life is your relationships. It's that personal goal that you have that you're not getting paid for, that self-enrichment, that kind of thing on a pragmatic level. Your domestic life is picking up your socks, taking out the trash, cleaning the bathroom, that kind of thing, making sure the cat box isn't, run over, taking the dog out.
For me, remembering to pick up the socks, because if I don't, oh boy.
That's what laundry is for. I get it on laundry day.
Yeah.
And then that spiritual life, that's really you sitting down and doing internal work,
Hmm.
right? When we go to church, when we go to temple, when we go to mosque, that's a part of your public life. That's not a part of your spiritual life. Your
Hmm.
spiritual life is what you do 5:30 in the morning when you're contemplating. It's the books that you read. It's the broadcasts you listen to. It's what you stream and binge. That's your spiritual life. And if that's all junked up, if any part, any of those four are junked up, it's going to affect the other three, right? How often have you been in a situation where like the dishes are piling up, but you have to get something done, but the dishes are on your mind the entire time that you're doing
Hmm.
it, or the laundry's piling up, or the bathroom needs to be clean, or you need to vacuum, right? And you have this important thing to do, and it's only going to take you 10, 15 minutes to do any of those things, which
Yeah.
would save you hours of consternation in trying to get whatever you're trying to get done. And yet we don't do it. We just ruminate on it. And I got to get to the dishes eventually.
Man, that
Where
that right there was the gem of the day. That
what's that?
right there, just taking the 15 minutes to
Yep,
do that one thing, so you don't have to spend the next eight thinking about it, and you can be done with it. You know,
yep.
that was
I mean,
amazing.
that's Tai Chi at its base. It's the master knows their job. They do it and they move on, right? You
Yeah.
don't sit there and you think about it. I was doing that yesterday actually. Like, as I'm walking around the house and I see something that needs to be cleaned, I just clean it. I'm not doing big cleans or anything like that, but it's like, oh, the sink needs to be wiped out. Oh, there's dishes in the sink. Oh, the stove. I just made a sandwich. The stove's dirty. Let me wipe it down. In fact, yesterday I wiped down half the stove because I was making a grilled cheese and oil and water for tea at the same time. So as those things are cooked, oh no, it was French toast. That's what I was making. So as those things are cooking on one side of the range, I'm wiping down the other side of the range because I'm just
That's
waiting for
that.
them.
That's the American industrial. You always stay busy and focused.
No, that was me taking care of personal life, which is
Yeah.
eating, and me taking care of domestic life, which is making sure it doesn't look like a pigsty. But
Yeah.
later on, when I walked into the kitchen, just taking out these little pieces here or there, the kitchen's clean. I have to like clean the floor because the cat
Yeah.
spends a lot. But yeah, it's clean, and so I'm not in my head worried about the kitchen.
Yeah. And that's a little.
Right?
And everything is lighter that way.
Yep.
Everything is lighter that way.
So when I sit down to work, I don't have these looming things over me. I can just do them. Um,
Yeah.
and that's the key, not to let those ties, or if you can't do anything about it at that time, just let it go. You let it go. You can't worry about it. But
Hmm.
that's hard to do. So it's better just to take care of it. But at the same time, that's again, it's balance because if you go after all the little things all the time, you won't get any of the big stuff done, right?
Yeah.
And that's when your domestic life becomes imbalanced or starts to imbalance the rest of your life because you're just cleaning all the time and trying to make sure we
Yeah.
know those people, those OCD people that don't necessarily have a medical diagnosis, but they certainly like show the signs of, you know,
Hmm.
being
Yeah.
OCD.
I think
So,
that
but
that
when you walk into your house, when you walk into their house, you're like afraid to sit because
Yeah, yeah,
everything
yeah,
is so.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
No.
I think
So,
that plays with Jason like
oh,
with us doing no, we not. I know we talk about Jason often, but this is a good one. But I just think about like with Jason and doing Tai Chi and things like that, how it helps out. And like I remember, and I'm speaking of him because this is the person who introduced me to Tai Chi, and I'm just thinking about how the philosophies behind these things are that we have, and like everybody gets something from somewhere, and for a lot of us here, you can accredit it to the kung fu, where you have to do it with integrity. If I were to try to do a move and hit somebody and overcompensate just because I'm trying to be forceful, I have probably done more damage to myself. Whereas if I were to stay integrity and do it properly, even though it might not look cool, the amount of damage that could be done with minimum effort is tremendous. At the same time, protecting oneself. And
yeah.
so it goes to say you got to have integrity. And I think as you go through having integrity with your art, it transforms to other areas of life
Sure.
where I can't have like all of this amazing integrity over here. and then something else is in shambles. And it just goes to show how much movies make sense, even though we think they're movies. And why do I say that? Because we all know about the kung fu expert who lives a lousy lifestyle.
Mm,
But when you actually go into that story, you'll find out they weren't this person. Something in life happened that tore them down. They could have went through COVID-19, and now
sure.
their life is in shambles, and that's where their mind stayed, and they're messed up from that. But when they were really learning art and getting these skills and gifts and learning how to use them, that wasn't how their life was. And I just think about that because you say, well, how is martial arts so cool and how is it so good and it's so respectful and all of these things? But then you have the bad guy who also does martial art, and a lot of times they'll lose, and they'll lose because they lack integrity. And
Yeah.
what happens in that fight, you'll find out they lose themselves in the battle, and they start going away from what they know because they're just so angry. They just want to hurt, harm, and kill, and it winds up backfiring on them.
Yeah.
It's just like a wonderful life lesson for all of us to just, if you just remain that integrity, a lot of things will work out a lot better for you. Even the bad things will work out better for you.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, leading with integrity, leading with virtue is, and the very definition of both. I mean, integrity is doing the right thing regardless of who's watching, right?
Yeah.
And then virtue is the idea of doing the most helpful to as many people as possible, right? Or doing what's most helpful. So when you have when you have the COVID-19 bill, the first one that gave $4 trillion to companies that were completely fluid, that is a sign of an unvirtuous government, right?
Yeah.
Because they're spending the maximum amount of effort on the smallest amount of people, right? They're doing the least helpful to the least portion or to the smallest portion of the population. That's not virtue. That's not integrity, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Same idea when you take a campaign donation from the healthcare industry or pharmaceutical industry or the war industry, and then you legislate in such a way that helps them out. That's not only non-virtuous, but there's no integrity there because that
Yeah.
is not the right thing. And even though now with the internet, we know who's donating to who, and dark money's getting harder to hide and all that kind of thing. And that's why all these politicians are getting caught and their
Well,
popularity is.
all I
But
know was the last election, somebody who was running
yeah,
said that clearly that whatever happens is ran by big business. And I know it's ran by big business because before I started running, I was the one giving y'all the money, telling y'all what to do. So,
and that guy's president right now.
yes. Now
I
names that will
remember he
not be.
said that too. He was like, "I
Yeah.
donated to you, and I donated to you, and I
So you
donated to
don't
you."
you don't
Guys
tell me
jumped
what
right
happens with the money. I'm the one to do it. I don't need your money. I got my own, so I do whatever I please. And it's
Basically,
crazy because the world that we live in, we are so brainwashed
yep,
that people are now, whether it's by mistake or not, but they're now telling us the truth, and we're still not doing anything about it.
yep.
We're still going along with the narrative of the story. I don't
That's
know.
right. That's right. Well, but that's when the lack of integrity and non-virtue has infected your society, where you're so wrapped up in the illusion of partisanism and whatever team you play for. It's no different than Philly Eagle fans against Dallas Cowboy fans, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
there's no
yeah.
middle ground. We're gonna beat you, and that's just that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of the versus I have a good friend from the army who we talk when football season comes in because he's actually from Texas and we were
Ah,
rivals
nice.
while we were
Yeah,
in. But it's very friendly. Like we'll get together at the beginning of the season and we'll talk over the rosters and think about what are the projections. I mean, granted, right now the NFC East is like the short bus of the NFL,
yes.
right?
And looking at the last draft, it's only getting shorter.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna
I
get
love that.
shorter.
I absolutely love that. Oh my God. We'll have to save that for another Cheekcast. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at the beginning we just have a civil conversation about our teams, and it really is sort of a discovery thing. And I know that part of it is that he's actually from the Dallas Fort Worth area, so he's not
Hmm.
this Philly Dallas fan that doesn't make any sense, and it's like I
Yeah,
have to say to you because
yeah.
not being a second grader kind of thing. I really hope you're not a Cowboys fan.
No, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because if you
You have
are,
to be
this
second
cast is cut. This cast is cut.
These are
No, no
questions that
dollars
we
here.
ask in
You
Philadelphia,
gotta,
all right?
yeah, you gotta find out. And you wait till you're on a live broadcast to ask.
Right, right. Versus like when you're talking to like a Philadelphia Cowboys fan, it's like, rah, you're just
Oh
banging your
yeah,
head
oh
against
yeah,
each
oh
other.
yeah.
So, but that's where politics has sort of devolved into, where it's just bang your heads, defeat the other team. And on the one end, you have a side that's like all in on their team and they don't care, right? Like, homeboy can come out today and say the sky is black, and tomorrow come out and say it's brown. And today for the group, it's black, and tomorrow it's brown. And that's just, and it was always brown tomorrow, right?
Well, I don't know, Mark. We might have to actually look and see if that happened, because who knows? But
Oh,
I
it
mean,
has happened. Oh,
yeah,
we have seen it happen live and in living color. Things that one side said were wrong under the last president are now perfectly fine
yep,
under this president.
yep,
And we're seeing this live and in living color because let's be fair here, right? Let's throw it on both sides of the aisle with the Tara Reid stuff with Joe Biden and the sexual assault allegations and all that kind of thing. Well, the same people that are defending Joe Biden were the same people that wanted to crucify Kavanaugh when there was when he was going up for the Supreme Court, and there was a lot less evidence against Kavanaugh than there is against Biden. So for the Me Too movement and all that, and it's to the point in which they are willing to sacrifice all of the gains made in the Me Too movement, which I am a complete fan of. It has been a long time coming. Uh, Listen, I had to go through the whole like, shoot, do I have something to worry about? No, because I've always acted with integrity. And at the end of the day, being like, hey, do you want to do this? Just to make sure, and
yeah,
even check in once in a while. Yeah, that's, and like, I never understood. I know that I'm going off on a total tangent here, but like the idea that you're going to be, even you're in a marriage. I'm in a long-standing relationship, but there are times where things just don't link up, right? And you're like, hey, you okay? No, I don't know, something's wrong. Okay, and you just kind of stop and you move on with life. Maybe you're like, hey, is there anything I can do or something of that nature? But sometimes it just doesn't work. I'm not always in the mood. You're not always in the mood.
yeah,
So like, things just happen.
yeah.
No, I don't understand where you could like look down and visibly see that someone is not enjoying themselves and just keep right on going. Like I don't understand that.
Just pull up.
I
Hey, how are you doing? I'm not doing well. All right, Joe. Just action, and you just keep it moving.
seriously.
I think that's how. I think you know what that. Man, that's just is across the board. I remember when I was doing security, one of the guys that I was really good friends with, he started losing himself because of everything that was taking place at the job, and it got to the point where he was literally going mad because he was really struggling. He's been there for years, and one day the manager walked up and he said, "Hey, how you doing today?" And he said, "Not good at all," and he meant that. And the
No.
manager's like, "Okay, man, that's good talking to you, man. I'm getting out of here." And he walked off and he was like, "You did not listen to nothing I said. You asked
Right.
me how was I doing just for it to be a phrase, not even caring." And it just
Yeah.
took him off the deep end. And like from that moment forward, he's been a different person at work in his
Yeah.
personal life and everything. And it's like I don't even know where he is now, but like man, he was just going off the deep end with that scenario. You know how that happened. It's like so even for me, I'll say, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm fine. If I wasn't, nobody want to listen anyway. And I'm
Right.
like, well, I just asked you,
Sure.
but I just asked. But when you go outside and you see the same thing to the next 10 people, the words hey, how are you doing? It's just a way of saying hello. And so I had to
Yeah.
try to remember, like, not to be rude, but if I don't want to ask how you're doing, I got to remember to say hello and not how are you doing. If I'm
Right. Right.
busy and I'm on my way to do something, I'm not going to say, hey, how are you doing? Because you know that you're going to tell Sam and he's going to listen. Now I have to be the guy to say, hey, listen, I don't have time to talk about it. Well, damn, you just asked me how was I doing? I know. So
So
it's like, you got to, hey,
it's funny. That's like unfortunately, that's like a limitation of English. When I was living over in Germany, they have two phrases for like a what's up, right? So you have like the Yates, which is what's up, and it just means I'm basically being polite beyond a hello, right?
yeah,
Hey, what's up? Not a moving on with life.
yeah,
And you have the Gates it's Ihnen, which is like, hey, how are you doing? Right? And that is actually inviting a conversation about how that person is. And when I was learning German, I would be like I would like a cab. And because they teach you the highest form of German, anytime you learn a language, you're going to learn the highest form of that language. Uh, I would be asking like the cabbies, the Gates and Ihnen, and they would give me like their whole life story. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
yeah, yeah. You're just inviting everybody.
Right, didn't know it, right? But then you learn these things. So I think that's a limitation in English, because when we say "what's up," we're not actually asking "what's up."
Yeah,
Like "how are you" is more of a inquiry. Like I have some time to like actually hear you out.
hmm
Um, but yeah, there are some limitations to language, and we don't communicate as well as we probably should in those situations because like you're busy with life, you're moving on, you're like doing your thing, and you come across somebody that's in need,
yeah.
and but not in a need like they have a flat tire on the side of the road or they're being assaulted by someone or they can't reach the top shelf to get the peanut butter jar. Like this is not something that you can physically jump into and make a difference. This is something like this person needs to sit down and talk,
Yeah,
which then means stepping away from your public persona and your industriousness and taking time literally just to hear this person out. But for you, that means doing nothing toward your goals while you take care of this person. So maybe that's by design that we don't have a phrase like that, or maybe it is a cultural undertone of who we are as a people, that something that may inconvenience us, we don't have a phrasing by which to sort of draw that out of somebody. I don't know
I
which
think
which
I
it
think
is.
maybe.
I
Well,
got
I
real
don't.
deep.
I know, and this is where the conversation gets interesting. It's always
Right
anyway.
at the
I
end.
yeah. I think for me it's like that undertone, and the reason why I say that is I read Success Magazine, and in Success Magazine you get the opportunity. I guess other places too, but just for me for Success Magazine, you get the opportunity to read about other successful people in other places, and I never forget. I probably said it before, but I never forget. Like this really struck me crazy. This Asian woman spoke and she said, I do not understand Americans.
Mm,
You all go to the doctors when you get sick.
mm,
Even when you take medicine, let's say take medicine at the first signs. We wait until it's 2 minutes before we got to call out of work to decide to take medicine and then say the medicine doesn't work. When on the bottle it says at the first signs you're supposed to take this,
yep.
not once you're already half dead. And she's like, you Americans, you go to the doctor when you're sick. Where I'm from, we go to the doctors to keep from getting sick.
That's
We
right.
constantly check out. We constantly look at our life and all these different things. Like I go to the restaurants. When I go to the restaurants, I always tip before my meal comes out.
Yeah.
And people look at me like I'm crazy when I do that. And I'm like, no, like this needs to happen. Like this poor soul is making, $2, $3 an hour. And on top of that, they found out that people are making a killing off of tips. So now the government's trying to figure out how can we tax your tip money because
Right.
now we know that you eating off of tip money. Then some people give them tips off of cards, don't even realize that when you tip them off of cards, percentages get taken from it, so they're not even getting the full
Yeah.
tip. So even if you gave them a $3 tip on the card, congratulations, you just gave them $1.50, $1.25.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like you. You look at all of that, and I'm like, yo, to alleviate your stress and to alleviate mine, here's your tip right now. And people
Right.
like, well, you don't know what kind of service they're going to give you. Well, how about you give them good service and then you get good service,
That's
right?
right.
And so it's like I always tip ahead of time, and I love doing it when I go out in groups of people that don't know that I do it and see the reactions of the people and how it comes. And then the reaction of the person who I'm tipping, it's always priceless. And I always leave with something extra and I always get something knocked off the bill. Now, I don't do it for that purpose, but
Right.
that does happen all the time.
Mhm.
And it's because, like, you spend all day long in here humping, and you're getting everything for everybody. And half the people show up, they show up with money to eat, knowing they don't have enough to tip. Like if I don't have enough money to tip, I
Right.
won't go to the restaurant because that's just disrespectful. But
Mhm.
people do that, and you might be in a position where that just might be a moment that you have to do. Okay, cool. But for that person who's working, they're dealing with that all day long.
Sure.
So instead of having to deal with that when I show up, I'm going to give you a tip ahead of time. And it really lightens up the mood. It lightens up the mood for them. They
Yep.
know that they've been paid. They know what they're getting. They don't have to stress over the situation. They just know they can just serve this table comfortably. And without that extra stress, we wind up getting better service.
Hmm.
And you gotten better service because you put that out into the world. And so I
Yep.
just think that, us as a culture over here is maybe more so geared towards to have individual success, abilities, personalities. Like even in a conversation, we generally don't listen. We generally like. I was trying to say something about Walmart. I don't remember what it was because I was listening to what you were saying. However, people generally have conversations, but they're having their own conversation
Yeah.
amongst two people, and they're not really present. Like I was thinking before we started the broadcast, I was like, man, when me and Marcus do these broadcasts, we have no idea what the heck we're gonna talk about. We just get on and we start rapping.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can only do that if you're actually present to the person that you're talking to. And I was just like, man, like we really like you think, okay, this is supposed to be an hour, but you always say, all right, it's time to wrap up. And I'll be feeling like, we just got started in the
Yeah.
conversation. And when you're actually present and you can listen and learn about what the person is saying and talking about, it's like so rich and rewarding uh, versus having hours upon hours. Like Jay Z was saying, now that he's a different mindset of a person, he said when he was doing his 444 album, him and his buddies sat down as men and they had conversations and talked. And he said he felt stupid. Maybe the word wasn't stupid, but he felt stupid because I sat down for a few hours with these gentlemen that I knew for the last 20, 30 years that I've always spoke about in my raps. And I learned more about them today than I did over the last 20 years
Right.
because we don't express ourselves. And when we are, ain't nobody listening. So it was just like, wow, we actually took an hour 20 years in to actually listen to each other and found so much more at that moment. And that just made me think about, the last time we did a broadcast, you said, you like doing them and you learned a lot about me from it. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy. How could Marcus learn a whole lot about me when we're just talking? Well, what are you talking about? When you talk about it, what is the passion behind your voice on talking about it? How
Hmm.
do you feel about these things? You get to learn, but you don't do that unless you're present. So
That's
it's
right.
like, how do you be present in every part of your life with still knowing you had to provide? Because if you don't, no one cares if you didn't. They still want to cut you off or whatever it is. So it's a rough thing to have balance. And so, Tai Chi is one of those things that help out with that, like how it brings all of that around, like to be able to be still in the moment of chaos. I think it's like just like being in the eye of the tornado. In the craziest point, there is peace.
Find your calm. Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
And with those words, my friend.
Ah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. You wrap it up, speech. And
That's right.
your voice always change. I don't have to be looking. I could be drinking some tea, and when I hear and with that being said, folks, I say, oh, it's now time. It's now
Let that
time.
radio personality take over after that.
Yeah, yeah. The spiel.
There it is. Yes, brother. As always, a pleasure, man. I love doing these with you, and
Oh, me too, man.
put positivity out in the world, which is always
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
And, man, we'll have to get you next time. I know I have
yeah.
some guests up here in the future. But yeah, I'd love to get you on. Let's do this. Let's keep it rolling. Keep it going with the rest of the team, and
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna make the world a better
Yeah.
place.
So many more personalities to mesh and connect and intertwine with.
That's it.
So,
That's it. You're doing the connection with all of them. So
yeah, yeah. Also,
heavy lifting
yeah.
because Jason
Also,
scared.
yeah. Well, I know. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna. I gotta bring that up tomorrow. We were supposed to be doing one tomorrow, so we're gonna have
There
to
you
go
go.
with that. Yeah, have
That's
to go with that.
it.
So for
All right, bro.
everybody
What
listening,
fine.
um, so well, of course, find me here with everybody else. And then you know what? So one thing that we never say too, you can come right to the YouTube channel. I talked to a friend of mine, and she actually said she left a comment on one of the videos that we had, but I think she was looking at it on somebody else's YouTube, so it wasn't under her name. So I got to look at that. So I guess another way to do it is just when you look at the broadcast, you can leave a comment here, and I promise you we will respond. I have responded to
Mhm.
comments on here. We do have a family Tai Chi with Veterans Facebook group. All of us can be reached there no matter what. My personal branding page for Instagram is diamond underscore mind underscore results and Chi of Philly on both of those. So anyway, however you want to get to us, you have the ability to do so. And Marcus as well. So you'll be able to contact that guy that always likes to show me up all the time.
I'm doing nothing. I'm just following the down, my friend.
Nice
Trails
background. Nice
background.
background. Yes.
That's good stuff. Thanks, Sam. As always, you can find Sam and everybody from the team at Tai Chi for veterans or with veterans, right? It's with veterans
With yeah.
on Facebook, on YouTube. We got to get the Twitter up and running, but on Instagram as well. And if you want to get a deeper insight to me, you can find me Tai Chi with Marcus on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon, where you can help keep this ball rolling.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
All right, brother. As always, health, happiness. A little more. Yeah. Be good.
Yes, sir.
And I'll see you soon. We'll kill the stream.